Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another page. This is page 3 from The Irrelevant Elephant. And today we're doing a little scene of, I guess, what would be the neighbors outside that aren't too happy about an elephant moving in next door. So they're out here having their little protest, and you can see I'm just sitting here drawing my lines. Once again, this is a printout of a thumbnail that I did. And the thumbnails are usually pretty sketchy. I'm just going in and adding the lines, filling out details. I do change things sometimes. I think I stick to this one pretty closely, actually. But yeah, just trying to capture kind of the emotion, like the girl there kind of has her nose up in the air, and like obviously it stinks because she's carrying the no elephant poo sign, and then the boy, he's got the angry eyebrows and the no elephant signs. They're neither one of them are too happy about the situation going on next doors, and they're making it known to the whole neighborhood apparently, and anybody who happens to pass by. So I'm just adding some scenery to the background, some trees and whatnot for framing, and there you go. I just threw it into Krita, which is very similar to Photoshop, by the way. I know I've mentioned that before, but very similar. Just going through, putting in my lines. And there's actually a few changes that happened throughout this video. Like right there, I forgot her sleeves. I don't know how I forgot them, but apparently I had forgotten her sleeves. So they'll come into play later on. And there's some color changes throughout this video. Added my no poo sign with little flies buzzing around. Because, elephants are stinky. And there's that boy, he's so angry. He's like, no elephants on my block. We're not having it. Just keeping everything real nice and loose. Like with with the rest of this series of images, everything's pretty loose. And I want it to be, kind of playful. And matter of fact, today is September 30th. And the book should actually be coming out soon. It'll be available in physical form and in digital. Obviously, price range varies from one medium to the other, but if you guys are interested in books with nice traditional values and morals, I would highly suggest picking this up for your kids or for yourself, or just helping out artists that are trying to promote good morals and values. It's very helpful. And you can see I'm just going through, inking all my lines, adding a little bit here and there. When I'm drawing like this, I'm not sticking really too close to the line work. I'm just kind of throwing stuff together, keeping it pretty close. If you look up at the lines in the original lines, you see they don't really match up all that well. And as an artist, you just you make executive decisions like that. And right now, like those blocks you see me put in, like the angles on those were all wrong. Like it didn't have proper dimensions. So I go in here and fix it for proper perspective, or at least, a semblance of proper perspective. I'm not trying to be perfect by any means with these drawings, but I'm just having fun and trying to make them look fun, friendly, and inviting. Well, maybe not so much this scene, because these two kids aren't very happy, but you guys know what I mean. This image was actually pretty fun. If I had more time, I probably would have incorporated even more elements into it, like some other neighbors standing behind the fence, kind of raising their fists, not too happy here. Putting in like your typical residential house, brick house with like the fake shutters and all that good stuff. Putting in my blue sky. It's a really blue sky. I can't remember if I do this sky the same as the one where they're having a little birthday party or not. I don't think I do. I think I actually keep it a nice blue sky. We'll see. I can't quite remember. And a lot of the things I'm doing here for this image, they're going to be on different layers. Like there's going to be a lot of different layers. That way, it's easy for me to separate and make changes. You just saw a quick flash. I referenced my other image so I could get the outside colors and stuff that I had in the other one. And once again, I'm keeping my colors pretty vibrant with like all of these images. I keep them pretty saturated. I'm not doing a painterly effect. This is more of a comic effect that I was going for in this one. And I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. I saw the proofs from the author the other day. She sent them to me, and they're looking really good. I like them. I can't wait till it's released. It always feels really good when a project you've worked a lot of hours on comes to fruition and you get to actually see it in its final form. It's fantastic. I really enjoy it. You see me lightening up the fence in the background because just atmosphere in general is going to make that a different color than the one up close. You tend to have darker colors and more value changes up close than you do in like the distance because of atmosphere. It's just how our Earth works. The further you get away, the more closely the values and color changes tend to coalesce and come together, so there's not as much variety. And sometimes, like with this image, there's really not a whole lot of atmosphere between the fence up front and the one in back, but still it helps to push the one up front forward and the one in the back backwards. And you notice I'm starting to accumulate quite a few layers over here. If you look at the layers, I've got about 8 different layers so far. If you're not, well, let's see, 6 or 7 of them, if you don't include the ink layer and the background layer. This is kind of a long way to do art, having to fill in like all the white space and then, do it on separate layers and then go back and do your lights and your darks on top of everything else. But it's a good way to keep things separated, especially when you're going for more of a comic kind of effect. If you need to make any changes, like if the client's unhappy with certain colors or whatnot, it's super easy to go back in and just make changes. But the author that I was working with, she was great. She was really easy to work with, and it made my job a lot easier working with a client that was really she was pretty happy with all the stuff I was doing. And you see there, I went in and I put purple in there as like a placeholder because I was trying to figure out what color I wanted to make their clothes and stuff. I actually struggled with that a little bit. But the purple definitely couldn't stay because it's too close to Lily and Ellie's purple. I had to change that. And this boy here, he's going to be going through some changes too because his shirt is the same color as Alex's. And like I said, I'm kind of using those as placeholders. It helps me mentally move forward in an image instead of getting stuck. So sometimes I'll just throw in random stuff to be like, okay, I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna move forward. That way, you don't spend a lot of time with indecision and vacillating between what color do I want to make this, blah blah blah, and just you start overthinking it. And sometimes it's just best to throw something in there and just move on. And you can always come back and change it later. As I'm doing now, you see me just going through and doing a whole bunch of other stuff. And meanwhile, the idea of collars is kind of, percolating in my mind. I pretty much got the girl. I got her collar about where I want it. And then I'll just keep working through here. I think the boy's shirt collar doesn't change until the JPEG on the very end because I missed some recording time, but You'll see it at the very last image for a couple of seconds once the final is done. Just going in here, doing signs, figuring out wood colors. You didn't want to pick the same thing as the picket fence there because then they just kind of blend in and look blah. So I picked like a darker picket wood color. Adding some blue to the signs just because you don't want to just do white. It's kind of boring. And when you're outside, especially during the summertime, white is super bright, but it can pick up, the blue atmosphere from the sky up above. Kind of keeping a lot of blues in here really close together. in value and in hue. That way it all seems cohesive, like it's reflecting the sky, which is pretty typical, I do believe. Unless you get, bounced colors from nearby objects, then that's gonna change your base color a fair amount. Here I am being really super detailed, probably more than I needed to be, but I just wanted to. And you notice I made this an orange building, because obviously a lot of brick color is orange, but you have a lot of, tans and reds and browns, a lot of earth tones and a lot of brick colors. But when you have that blue sky back behind it, the orange is a complementary color, and I thought it looked really good, and it looked interesting rather than just putting like a tan house, because I already have kind of sand and tan colored fences and wood and stuff like that. I wanted to kind of change it a little bit, just adding some shadows underneath that overhang and some variation in the bricks, putting those little side bricks as like accents. I thought that was kind of a cool idea. I got just a little cheeky squirrel back here with his own little picket sign. I didn't want to fully like render it out and make him look really like super good or anything, but I wanted him to be back there as just kind of a background effect. Nothing to really draw too much attention. Going through adding my shadows and my lights. When it comes to these type of images, you just got to kind of take it a step at a time. And don't get frustrated, especially if you're having a hard time finding a color that you like. You just got to work through the image. Don't get frustrated, and just have fun with it. Try to pick colors that you like and that work well with one another. And if you're having a hard time, or if something isn't looking right, take a break and just come back later. That tends to help quite a bit as well. Still adding a lot of my dark values. I'll come in later on with a bunch of my lights. I'm doing them on separate layers, like all my darks on one layer. If I remember, sometimes I messed up and put them on wrong layers. And then I'll come in later and put lights on another layer. That way I can turn them on and off and look at them and make changes if I need to. I'm going through making selections so I can do stuff like that and just kind of add a little bit of shadow to the fence there. And the only problem with the way I did things is, you see here, I have to go back through with like a selection tool and kind of delete out some of the overspray from my airbrush from adding a shadow there. Adding a nice little grass effect to the ground. I made some kind of a textured effect to the sidewalk that they're walking on. And I actually struggled here a little bit with the shadows. Like at first I was like, well, I could do like a hard sun, like almost directly overhead, and just have like a 1-for-1 shadow beneath them. But it started getting too busy, and I wasn't liking it anymore. And you'll see I get frustrated at some point, and I kind of just wipe it all out and add some splotches. That way it's also not drawing too much attention. That's another thing, it may be more correct to do it that way, even though I was messing up. I wasn't doing it very well, but it may be more correct to do it that way. However, sometimes it just draws too much attention, and that's just not the way that I prefer to do it. I wanted to just kind of be an effect that you subconsciously notice, and you're like, oh, okay, and you just go on about your day. See, I just ended up adding a little bit of kind of an airbrush shadow beneath them, so it wouldn't be too obvious. And here I am playing with some blues, because the shadow would be a bit cooler since you get that nice blue sky. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how this image turned out. The colors worked really well. I like the action. I like what the figures are doing. And at the end of the day, as long as the client's happy, I'm happy. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this, maybe learned a little something. And if you would like to leave me a comment, I'd really appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching this video and and stopping by. I appreciate it. And I hope everybody has a fantastic day. Everybody take care. Bye-bye.